Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew to like musical theater. And Andrew, can you believe it? We have a super special guest.
Oh, I can believe it. All of our guests are super special, but is this one extra special?
I mean, yes, because they have like the best theater podcast ever, and like they get all the hot gossip before anyone else.
Ooh.
So,
well, now I'm excited. So,
today, please join me in welcoming Ayanna Prescod, the host of What's Up Broadway, the Brooklyn-based founder, theater producer, journalist, and the last survivor of Titanic the Musical. Yeah!
Hi. Thanks for having me.
No worries. How'd you survive that? Like, I mean, it looked like we were on an angle. How did they do it?
It was really tilting. I saw it. I would fall down.
It wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad. I took the Rose way and just stood on the door, let no one else come on the door with me. And so there we have it. And I'm here.
You didn't do the Ismay way where you just got on a lifeboat and rode to safety? He's a real king. That would have been my way.
That's the easy way out.
I have problems with him, but yes. No, I did it the Rose way. I was very brave.
Got found, immediately saved, changed your name.
Immediately got the whistle, found Jack's whistle.
Threw the heart of the ocean into the ocean where it belongs. Hell yeah.
Exactly.
Well, in case you haven't noticed by our very subtle hints or outright just saying it, this week we are very lucky to talk about Titanic the Musical. Cue the music, Bree.
There she is, towering high, broad and grand, ship of dreams, sailing day, morning bright, take your flight, ship of dreams. She strains at her lines, the smoke from her funnels drain. Her brow like a knife, she'll cut through the waves, unfailing.
Titanic the Musical is a musical with book by Peter Stone and a music and lyrics by Mary Yeston. It is based on the sinking of the RMS Titanic. It premiered on Broadway on April 23rd, 1997 at the Lunt-Fontanne Theater and ran for 804 performances and 27 previews, closing on March 21st, 1999. By coincidence, the musical opened the same year as James Cameron's epic film adaptation of the story Titanic. The plot of this musical is Mary Yeston and Peter Stone's musical examines the lives of the passengers aboard the doomed luxury liner Titanic, those in first class, middle class, and steerage, in the nights leading up to the ship's fatal encounter with an iceberg at sea. That was what was in the playbill.
That seems like a lot, but it's a lot of a show.
It's a lot of a show, but Ayanna, you've almost made this your brand on the Twitters.
I feel like I have. And it's been a blessing to me because right before theater shut down, there was supposed to be a Titanic revival. I don't know if you guys know this, but it was fully casted. It was supposed to be at, I might get the theater wrong, but it was fully casted. It was supposed to be at the Nederlander.
And now it's another revival of The Music Man, so...
And I feel like the Titanic in some ways is like cursed because every time it's supposed to come back, something happens. And we literally had a global pandemic.
It just keeps sinking.
Month. It just keeps sinking. But yeah, I talk about it all the time. And one of the producers from the show actually reached out to me because I talk about it so much. And he was just like, what is your interest with this show? And I was like, from the moment I heard the music. So I was introduced to the show. Oh, did you see that?
Oh, yeah. What was that, lightning? Did you hit an iceberg?
My lights just flicked. See, that's what I'm saying. I have a long history with Titanic, and every time I talk about
it's a curse.
Something weird, I'm going to take you back. So the day I was talking to the producer, it was last summer, 2021. We were outside. The moment we started talking about Titanic, glass from a building just comes out of a window. Not kidding. True story. I can get this verified as soon as this show is uploaded by the producer. But seriously, every time I start talking about it, it's It's a little weird. But he wanted to know my fascination with the show, and I was introduced to the show by the music. And so the music just took me on this journey, and then I became super obsessed with Titanic after the music. And listen, it's on from there. Like, I love the music so much. I didn't get to see the Broadway production because I was like a kid. But I saw an iteration in Virginia at Signature Theater. They did like a roundabout production of it, and it was beautiful, and I was even more obsessed. And so here we are talking about the greatest show of all time.
So you found it through the cast recording, then went to see it, and it has not lost its luster at all.
No, and it never will. And I hope I get to work on that show someday.
Too big to sink. Unsinkable show.
Unsinkable.
It was. I had never dived into the show, no pun intended, before this podcast.
My God, there's so many puns. Stop.
I never
That's the episode. It's just Titanic puns. But I had heard a lot of the songs because I am a big Maury Yeston fan. I think he is like one of the best Broadway composers to ever do the job. He wrote the better Phantom of the Opera. Come at me.
We did a whole episode on that hot take.
Controversial take.
That's a controversial take, but I stand by it. But this show, I watched it 3 times to prepare for this, and I watched a 2-hour documentary made for UPN about the creation of this show and how it relates to the history. And I like it. I think the score is great. I think a revival would do a lot of good to this show. But I am very interested in my co-host, Andrew, who you don't particularly... I'm very curious. What did you think of the show?
I actually really liked it. I thought that the music was very good, especially in the second half. I feel like it picks up a lot in the second half, but that's just the Titanic, I think. I think that's just because... That's how the story goes. I mean, it's just a normal ship ride in the first half.
So many people have watched just the first VHS of Titanic and gave up, and so many people have wore out just the second VHS of Titanic. Wait, which VHS had the Kate Winslet drawing scene? Doesn't matter. That one got worn out too. But
that one they paused on and took some screenshots.
Screenshots on VHS, yes, of course.
Pictures.
That's how it kind of breaks up. I think the second act of most musicals are where things pick up. Notable exceptions are variable, but I think it's effective here. However, it's a lot of just like Dramatic Irony the Musical is another alternate title I would give this, where people will just...
Titanic, though. I feel like all Titanic media has that problem. It's always just like, I hope this doesn't sink.
No way it'll
this
sink.
This one can't sink.
I'm so happy. We're going to do great things when we get to America.
We're going to get to New York, and we're not going to sink halfway there.
I know. That's the problem with the show. That's a problem with a show like this. Like, you know how it's going to end. And so it's like, well... There can't be any surprise, but for me, the surprise was the music and the nuance with the music. And so you do have a great argument, but I think both acts do the show a lot of justice and gives a lot. The first act for me was more of the history of the boat, and I learned so much. Maury Yeston's lyrics are so beautiful that like you learn so much. You don't have to go like pick up a book to learn about the Titanic. And so that's what I loved about it. And then the second act, we get into like blame and why the ship actually sank and who are these people on this ship and what does it mean to be a part of this like beautiful luxury liner, but also like you're about to die. And so I don't know, I have so much thoughts about this, but I thought both acts work.
I think they both work. I think this is one of those rare true ensemble musicals. Like even just going through like the cast list, I'm like, man, this is a big cast. And all of them are effective, but it also makes you a little scatterbrained of, all right, who do I feel emotion for? When really you should be feeling emotion for everyone. So a first watch is confusing. Like I do not envy the task of any critic that goes into this just once and be like, oh, whoa, what was that? But once you listen to that cast album a bunch and watch a couple different versions, you really fall into it, and it really starts to fall together as like a really, really effective musical.
You just gotta go moment to moment the first time you watch it and just get the emotions of everybody dying.
So what character, now I'm turning into the question asker, what character did you, I know it's true ensemble for you, but what character did you connect with the most, or did you feel for the most in this instance?
I think Mr. Andrews, because A, he's got the 11 o'clock number, and B, it's Michael Servers. Like,
It's a
those
very
are
good
two
song,
very
too.
big factors for me. But then you got the Brian Darcy James like guy who likes to do the the coal, work the coal. And the Kates, like, I remember everyone in this show. Like, there's not a single unmemorable part. Like, even the couple, the Strausses, their songs, like, still beautiful, and that, like, real life people. Let's just say this is a significantly better interpretation of the Titanic story than the James Cameron film by a long shot.
I was gonna say that too.
But what is yours? What character do you feel the most connected with?
It's funny because the Kates have always had a place in my heart because they have this song about their dreams when they arrive in New York. But also Brian Darcy James as the beret, like, I was just like, oh my God, like, this poor guy, like, is doing all this hard work for this ship to run, and it's like a failure. But yeah, I want to say the Kates and then Brian Darcy James as the beret, because it's just like these are not first class passengers at all. Like, I don't know if I necessarily feel for first class passengers as much as I feel for the workers and the third class passengers who are just trying to get to New York and trying to do their job.
They all die, so it's very hard to
Yeah,
I know.
except for Bruce Ismay. He got onto that boat. I love that. No matter what, in every Titanic adaptation, Bruce Ismay is a horrible person. Sometimes he's like a horrible racist. Sometimes he's a rapist. Every version is like, we're gonna make him
It's so
the
bad.
worst.
It's also like so fascinating that we're always, every time someone talks about Titanic, we always talk about like the rich people that are on the ship. And we had so many notables on the ship, like the Guggenheims, you had the Strausses. So you had a lot of rich people, but no one talks about like the third class passengers and like who they were and what are their names. And I've been to a number of Titanic museums. There are a few. And I feel like there was even like people thought there was not a single Black person on the ship. Incorrect. There was a Black man who was married to a white woman, had his kids on the ship. The woman and the kids survived, but the guy died. They were in third class. But it was just, there's just stories that are so like, that go under the radar for this ship. And it's because we put so much perspective on the first class passengers.
There was one middle class family that has a happy ending. I do want to tell this story because I learned it in that documentary I watched. It was not in this musical, but there were these two boys with a guy, and the boys got onto, like, they were little kids. They got onto a lifeboat, and they were just assumed to be orphaned. Then their photos start popping up in America. Their mom finds them. It turns out they were kidnapped by their father, and they were reunited with their mom.
What?
I know.
They didn't even know?
Yeah.
Or did they know?
I think the kids, I think they were a little too young. I think they were like 5 and 4, where you're kind of like, all right, I guess I'm going here now.
What documentary is this?
That was the same 2-hour.
It was okay. I have to watch
because they like, it's like half like, here's how we made Titanic the musical, and the other half, here's some history about the Titanic.
Love that.
So these kids get on the lifeboat, their dad dies, and they're like, oh, your dad was actually terrible. Like, he kidnapped you. Like, oop.
That is so crazy.
That's the story you never hear about the Titanic. But, however, if I'm on a Carnival cruise line with Jeff Bezos and that ship goes down and we all die, who are they going to put in the newspaper?
Bezos.
Dumb little podcaster me or Jeff Bezos?
Jeff Bezos will be on the only lifeboat by himself, rowing away
We've
everyone
learned that
else's.
with so many things. Even with like Kobe Bryant and the plane crash. Like there's just so many terrible things that have happened with more famous people that we don't learn about the other people, which is so sad.
Yeah, it's like how no one gave a real shit about COVID until Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson got his. Like that's
Isn't
a
that
bigger
interesting?
scale.
That's another podcast.
Yeah. I do want to talk about like historical accuracies and media and how much they matter. Because I feel like this is actually one of the more historically accurate interpretations of Titanic, especially compared to like A Night to Remember or the James
Or even
Cameron
the
film.
film.
The James Cameron one's pretty bad.
This does not take very many liberties with the story, aside from the fact that they're singing, which, even for most musicals, is very rare. I think that it's very effective in the fact that it uses its story very wisely, uses its characters very wisely, and how they execute it. Like, the entire prologue is a masterclass in getting a lot of exposition out without it feeling like an exposition dump. I think that was one of the most brilliant openings to a musical I've seen in a long, long time.
And it sounds so beautiful, but like I said before, very informative. Maury got everything that you can ever want to know about the Titanic in the first 10 minutes.
Yes.
It's incredible. It's incredible. The opening is like one of my favorite parts of the entire show, because of the historical fact, because even we're talking about it sinking and not succeeding on Broadway. I know for a fact a number of people saw the James Cameron film and then thought that Rose and Jack were actually real people and were upset when they saw the Broadway production and Rose and Jack were not in the Broadway production.
What did they think Rose and Jack were like the Titanic main characters, like in the real world? Like, oh, where are they?
People are stupid, Andrew. I don't know if you know this. There's a lot of dumb folks out there.
Listen.
You can't make a Titanic thing without Rose and Jack, the main characters of the Titanic.
What do you mean Rose and Jack were just this romantic interest that they threw in?
But they set up more compelling romances in this that were actually more realistic and more honest because of that.
Well, some of them were actually real people, weren't they? Or am I mistaken?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of stories about that, but the historical context is my favorite part of this entire show.
Yeah, but it's not statistical. It's not systematic. It's not like here's a bunch of technobabble. It's not soulless.
Right.
It has a lot of soul. In fact, I'd say its emotional context is what makes it matter. Which is why I appreciate in the second act they don't focus that much on the deaths, the big spectacle, the ship's sinking. Like, you get one cool song, and then we just kind of yeah, that was really bad what happened. You're not going to get the spectacle. You're not going to ooh and ah at this. We are people, and we matter more than the ship itself. Which I thought was a brave move for a musical.
But you don't want a half an hour scene of people falling off the ship and
you mean like an hour and a half long scene of people falling off the ship, smacking on propellers, fighting each other?
It's like, those aren't real people. It's all spectacle.
It's an action movie. Oh, she's
so funny.
My boyfriend's trapped in the middle of the ship, but it's flooding. I have to get down there to save him. And my ex-boyfriend's shooting me with a gun.
Did you see the entire show? Have you found it?
We saw the.
Okay. Because it's very hard to find.
Oh, is it?
Oh, did you find it easily?
Very hard to find.
Oh my God, this is tea. This is tea right now because it was very hard to find for me.
The Titanic's not the only thing sailing on the ocean.
I've got.
There's pirates out there too.
Yo ho. We have a couple variations too.
Oh, interesting.
I might have to share a
conversation.
The sad part is we talk about it a lot in our shows, and no one has brought it up to us. No one has ever made a comment. No one's ever been like, "Hey, maybe don't."
This is interesting. I've only seen one version of it, and I had to search. This is how I found it. I was searching YouTube. I was like, there has to be something, and then it was the link for the entire show was in the comments, deep in the comments in a YouTube video of it was Titanic adjacent.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to share how and when and where and what the heck I was doing wrong, because I need that.
Yeah, there's communities that share things like this, that
I'm
are
so out of
locked
the
off
loop.
from the world.
Little pirates' coves.
It kind of is, though. But, I mean, in the pandemic, they all started popping up a lot more because the desperation arose quite heavily. You know, like an iceberg out of the deep water, they arose up. But you know what? I think it's time for us to compare our opinions to those of the New York theater critics when this first came out. It's time for Previews.
It's time for previews. It's time for previews.
Bree's not here.
Bree's not here. Sadly, Bree has COVID, so she cannot be here with us today. Send her love and gifts
well
on
soon.
We
Twitter.
miss you, Bree.
We love you so much, Bree. But Andrew, you get to revive your Ben Brantley voice to read
Oh, Lord,
what
no.
Mr. Ben Brantley had to say about Titanic the Musical. I'm sure it's nuanced and kind. Because he's known for being a very kind and nuancnced man, and not just saying
he is,
random
he
horse
is.
shit and then calling it a review. Not saying Jesse Green's much better.
He's never just vomited words onto the page or anything.
No, he just feels like, I'm making a deadline, gotta say some words. Pretended
so
careers
funny.
are relying on this fucking review. Gotta get
So
it
is he
up. by-
positive here or negative? He's probably
He's
negative. isn't he?
middling. I think that's the best way to
middling.
say it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's the negative.
Well, middling is negative when it's Ben Brantley, isn't it? Well, let's see.
What's he got to say, Andrew?
All right, Ben Brantley, in his review for the New York Times, wrote that, and I'll attempt the voice. We'll see if I can keep it up. The vultures have been salivating over this one for months. How could they not have been? All those stories of production freezing, technical glitches in previews, the reported rumors that the show might not even open, and beyond all that, the mere fact that a $10 million musical called Titanic, a singing and dancing rendition of the century's most famous maritime disaster. Yes, it all seemed to pretend a memorably, I can never read his words, memorably bloody chapter in the history of flops on Broadway. Theater disaster cultists will have to wait, however, as will headline writers armed with scalpels and the obvious puns. Titanic, which opened on schedule last night at the Luntfontein Theater, doesn't sink. Unfortunately, that is also probably the most exciting thing that can be said about it.
Like what? Okay, as a topic sentence, let's think about that. Let me go into like theater history and how terrible flops are. Oh, this isn't that, but ain't much else either.
I don't know if I've ever agreed with a Ben Brantley review, and not just because this is Titanic. I just think he's been right a lot of times, but he's been wrong more so, in my opinion. So here we are.
He's basically who we cyberbully every week on this show.
Gotta love him. He stepped down because of you guys. Totally
I
sure
hope it was us. I hope it was us.
I honestly do, because once a week, literally, we call him Ben Brantley Shapiro because he's.
I try to do the voice. I used to do it better, but
That is hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, Ben Brantley, you're a piece of shit.
should I go on? There is more.
Yes, there is more.
At its worst, this extremely ambitious vehicle is simply hokey and stereotyped. At its best, it's admirably efficient piece of narrative, able to squeeze in a vast roster of characters, assorted chunks, and technological and historical information, slews of statistics and themes ranging from class conflict to human hubris, all with minimal confusion. So that's a compliment, I guess. I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yet the show never seems to leave port. Oh, jeez, here we go.
Fuck you.
Titanic fails to capitalize on the two obvious trump cards its subject has dealt it: sentimentality and suspense. I mean, like,
the
what
ship
does that
sinks,
mean?
isn't
You
that
already
suspense
know the
enough?
story.
I feel like there's plenty of sentimentality, and the suspense is the entire first act where the ship hasn't hit the iceberg yet.
Yeah, that's just. It's like the ultimate Hitchcock thing, where it's like, if you know there's a bomb under you, you're suspenseful forever. But if it just explodes out of nowhere, there's no suspense. It's surprise. There's suspense. That's the suspense, Mr. Brantley.
This may generate cosmic resonance, a sense of humility sliding into the great sea of mortality. What are you saying? But it doesn't stir up much vicarious anxiety or sympathy. Unless you're allowed to know the victims of any catastrophe, they will remain statistics. With this, Titanic, your heart doesn't, as it has to, go down with the ship.
So he's just saying, I didn't feel nothing. I have no empathy for these people.
He didn't feel
Unless
connected
you're
to
allowed to
anyone.
know the victims of, like, what is the entire show? There's so many songs about specific people.
Yeah, like the Strausses, they have a beautiful song about, like, how much they still love each other, even though they're about to die and drinking fancy wine.
He didn't feel for not one of the Kate. Like, that's ridiculous. That's...
Like, I don't know. They give you opportunities to get to know people in the crew, the first class, the second class, the third, like everybody.
Everyone has.
Did he not even mention, like, the awesome set design? Like, the set design for that show.
He threw it away, like, yeah, there's some technical marvels, but come on, I don't feel nothing.
That's ridiculous.
No feeling.
And that is a truncated review, because I do cut out the parts where he talks about specific actors, since that's not really what we do here, and I don't ever want to pick on someone. So anytime it's talking about the director or the actor, I really don't want to include that piece.
Makes sense.
But that's not all for... Wait, first of all, do we agree with that review? Obviously, no. We think it's a little too...
Oh, no.
No. It's like,
It's ridiculous. To say that he didn't feel for any one of the characters is beyond me. That means you have no empathy at all.
Well,
I don't know.
that's Ben Brantley
the
for
way
you.
he's writing about it, like it's, I don't know. It's always this thing where he gives it some praise and then he immediately undermines it with, like, extremely overwritten, like, negativity.
That's kind of the thing.
like,
He'll,
I
like,
don't
say
understand
one
it.
sentence of praise, won't expand upon it, will expand for paragraphs upon paragraphs about everything he dislikes.
Yeah, it's like, even if he's right in some senses about some of the negative things, he just goes so overboard it doesn't matter. It's like you can't agree anymore. And he does that with every show.
Well, no longer.
Heck yeah. Now we got Jesse Green bitching that we don't have enough set design. Great. So much better.
Yeah, that was an interesting review, wasn't it?
That was a garbage review. I'm almost thinking about picking on cyberbullying Jesse Green now.
I think theater critics just aren't really
Hey,
in tune with the
I am a
audience
critic.
sometimes.
Yeah,
Hey,
Andrew.
Hey.
Writes for
For the New
Variety.
York Times.
Oh, for New York Times. Oh, well, I think Maya is giving a new, fresh perspective.
I've enjoyed all
No?
of Maya's reviews.
I think so.
That's a problem. We
That's
can't
fair.
really pick on everyone in the community anymore.
I know.
Because now I'm becoming friends with some of them. It's like, man,
I can pick on whoever I want.
he can
Jess.
pick on whoever he wants, which is why I know this show will always work. Because even if I get bought out, he never can.
No one will buy me.
But you know what, Ayanna? We have to look at the real critics out there, the true critics. I don't think you
that?
can hold a candle to the insanity that is the critics over on Letterboxd.com. It is time for our favorite game show, 1 star or 5 star.
These are the real critics. These are who we should listen to. These are the real critics.
Ayanna, so do you know about this game?
I don't.
So
I don't, but I'm scared.
you and Andrew
You
are
should be.
currently in competition now for a brief little
Okay.
period. We're about to
Okay.
play a game of letterboxd reviews where I'm going to read you a review, the full review, and you have to guess whether it's a 1-star review or a 5-star review,
Oh, I
just
think I
based
could
on
do
the
this.
review.
Got
All right.
it. Okay.
Are these all for the musical here? Or
No,
this
this is
the
for
movie?
the Titanic movie because there are no reviews for the musical as much as I wanted to. So, slightly off theme, but we're going to move on to the movie for a bit. We're going to come back to it. Don't worry. We're going to get back to the musical. We're only halfway through this episode. All right. Ayanna, are you ready to go first?
I'm ready.
All right. This review, full review. It was faked. 1 star or 5 star.
Wait, that's it?
That's
it
the
was
full
fake?
review.
They faked it. They faked it.
It was. Wait, I was so prepared. It was fate. 3 stars.
Now, it's a 1 star.
What?
I know. And Ayanna,
They're only
just,
1 or 5.
just for clarity, it's either 1 or 5. It's a binary. There is
Oh,
no
it's
in between.
1 or 5.
There is no 3.
There is no 3s. There's
I
no
know.
4s. It is either 1 or 5.
Okay, now I got it better. Okay.
All right, Andrew, are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
My dad saw this by himself 14 times in theaters when it came out. This is not a joke.
I mean, their dad must have really enjoyed it. 5 stars?
That is
5?
correct.
Oh, okay.
All right. I know. He still got plenty of time. All right.
Okay.
I lost my V card to this at my grandma's house.
5.
That is a 1.
What?
What is a V card?
Your virginity.
Your virginity.
Oh,
your
that's what that
grandmother?
means? I've
Yeah.
never heard that term.
What?
What? Really?
I'm not doing great.
Yeah,
here.
really. I've never heard that called a V card.
Yeah, you lost your V
totally have.
card. All
How
right,
is that not a 5 stars then?
I know. That's terrible. That says more about their partner and not the movie.
Exactly.
But here we
Yeah.
go.
All right, Andrew, you ready?
Yes.
Now I am reading this verbatim. I'm gonna try to put no additional voice to it. But so I'm glad none of those trifling hoes got their hands on the heart of the ocean. Good job, Rose.
5 stars?
That is correct.
Not doing too well here.
It's okay. Literally, there is no rubric to how to pass it. All right, you ready? We got another one.
Mm-hmm.
James Cameron put his entire Titussi into this.
Damn.
That has to be a 5.
That is a 5. All right, Andrew, you ready?
Yeah.
Saw this with high school GF and had the bluest balls of all time. Still dope.
Ooh, didn't lose the V card. I mean, still dope. Sounds like 5. Sounds like 5 stars.
That
to
was
me.
5. You're right.
Okay.
All right, Ayanna, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, Sinky great rom-com. Would watch again.
Sinky great.
Yeah, Sinky great.
1?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Even though they said they'd watch it again.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah.
All this could have been avoided if I was the captain.
Everybody watching the movie, they're like, yeah, if it was me, I wouldn't have hit the iceberg. 5 stars. I'm just rolling with the 5 stars.
That is a 1. You are wrong.
That's a 1.
All right, Ayanna, you guys are currently tied, so.
Oof. Yes.
Watch this in a hotel lobby while playing bananagrams with my family. But good for her for living, I guess.
Bananagrams.
In a hotel. How long were you in this hotel lobby? Isn't the Titanic movie like 3 hours?
Yeah,
It's really long. 1?
that is correct. All right, you passed Andrew.
Oh boy.
All right, Andrew, you ready?
Yeah.
This is even gayer than the stuff I watch on Pornhub.
I mean, I feel like Titanic is straight for the most part, but sure. Oh jeez. 5 stars.
That is a 1 star. All right,
That's
Ayanna.
a 1 star. Okay.
All right. Okay, we're
I'm
gonna.
just playing rock. I'm going with rock every time.
It genuinely pisses me off that Rose is the one that survives. Eat the rich.
I agree.
True.
Shit. 1?
That is a 5.
What?
I know.
How he pissed and still gave it a 5. Okay.
All right,
It's letterbox critics. They don't
Okay.
make any sense.
we're gonna do one more round. One more for Andrew, one more for Ayanna. Then whatever we got, we got. All right, Andrew, you ready?
Sure thing.
Too much love, not enough tits. False title.
I mean, they sound upset. 1 star?
That was a 5 star.
How was that a 5? How is that one a
ridiculous.
5?
I need to talk to everyone. All of these reviewers.
This is Letterboxd for you. They're full of insane people. And I don't like using that word because it's a little ableist, but these reviews are pretty cuckoo.
These are really interesting people, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. All right. Last one, Ayanna. Mm-hmm. It would have been a better musical. I did not make that review up. I did not make that review
shit.
up. I saw it and I was like, ah.
Duh.
They called him out.
1 star.
That is correct, and you are the winner of Reviews. Fantastic job, Ayanna.
Thanks.
I think you're the first one to like properly defeat Andrew too.
Wow.
I feel like you say that every time I lose because I don't think I've won recently.
No, you've tied every time. This is the first proper win.
Wow.
All right.
We love that.
Send her a gift basket or something.
Full of Titanic.
I'll send her a model Titanic, the one that Michael Service is holding at the start.
Yeah.
I have to message
pretty
him. How do I
fancy.
get that? All right, guys. How about we go into a mid-show and then we can talk about some songs?
Sure.
Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a shill at you! Today's show is brought to you by the extremely kind donations by our donors over at Patreon. Andrew, what is Patreon?
Oh, Patreon's where you can go if you want to donate money to us and also get extra content. We have another podcast that runs over there. We have commentaries that go up periodically. You get access to the video version of the podcast.
You can see Ayanna's wonderful face right now. Oh, she's doing
Absolutely.
backflips. How did you do that? Get down from there. That's dangerous.
Wow!
You'll never know unless you get on Patreon.
All right.
Ayanna, another thing that we also get from our Patreon, if they donate a certain amount, they get to write a paragraph that we have to read every single time, every week. And you know what? I'm going to make you read it this week. 'Cause
Love that.
Oh, no. On the spot like this.
That's our full paragraph, Ayanna. I'm going to let you take a crack at it.
Oh, lovely. There's a heart. Okay. There's a...
Come on. This is from Joseph Evans Green, who sent this in, by the way, so blame him.
Okay, Joseph. This is for you. There's a star man he plays in blue and white. His name's Yuri Tielemans, and he's dynamite. Wilfred Ndidi, he'll take the ball off you. And finally, ooh, Jamie Vardy. Ooh, Jamie Vardy.
What is
Or maybe
this?
it's O.
Apparently, it's like a football thing, like actual, like proper European football.
It's a soccer
Oh.
thing. Okay.
Love that.
Thank you so
I
much,
have
Ayanna.
no idea.
Bravo. That was brilliantly read, better than either of us have ever done.
I still
Absolutely
feel like it
incredible.
should be that David Bowie or whatever, the Starman thing.
It should be, but it isn't. But our current patrons are Melissa Goldman, Terry Needleman, John Donna, Leighton Ackles, Danielle Rennick, Justice Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Taskier, Monica Thoreau, Mina Manuri, Brent Black, Nathaniel, Stacy Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Carrie Ahern, Mary Lou Choquette, John Van Alls, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Tablam, Kyle Summers, Janae C, Scoot and Technicolor Dreamcoat, Liz Lim, Allison Stoller, Nothing is Certain Except Beth and Taxes, Thespian, Ren Cullen, Wait in the Wings, Rafael Martinez Salaz, Robert Benjamin, Jessica T, Mitchell Young, Chai Teacup, Katie McDonough, Timothy Keys, Jeffrey Machado, Chris Marcotte, Tumimu Robinson, Kiji Marie Anastasio, Layla, RJ Norija, Sebastian Canino, Evan Regan, Charlie B, Patrick Deering, Courtney Schreiner, Joe, Avery Brinson, Marilyn Brown, Mel Cormick, LaFemme Fictionale, Bjorn Hermans, August Gorman, Mac the Knife, Erica S., Toriana Vestal, Sammy the Most Lopez, and Liana Morton, and Angela. Forgot one more. They give us financial support that helps us put on this show and make it as good as it is, which I guess is debatable at this point.
Oh, no. It's a good show.
Yeah, not as good as What's Up Broadway, which you can now
Oh.
hear on the Broadway Podcast Network.
Ooh.
Dang.
Thanks for the
Just
plug.
we shilled enough for our own show. We could do that at the end.
You're right. Let's get back to the show.
In every age, mankind attempts to fabricate great works at once magnificent and impossible. On desert sands, from mountains of stone, a pyramid. From flying buttresses alone, a wall of light. A chapel ceiling screaming one man's ecstasy, one man's ecstasy. Miracles them all, China's endless wall, Stonehenge, the Parthenon, the Duomo, the aqueducts of Rome. We did not attempt to make with mammoth blocks of stone a giant pyramid. No, not a pyramid.
All right, so that opening number, the prologue, in every age, like the entire launching sequence, to be honest, everything, like in that first like chunk of the musical, I would just lump that into like one big opening number. It's so good.
It's so good, but in every age. I wish that was like its own song, like separate. Like it should. Like I feel I get chills every time.
Prologue.
Like like a prologue. Thank you, Maury, if you're listening. But yeah, like I love that song so much. It's a great entryway into what like this man was thinking, what his hopes were for this ship. You know, like it's a great entryway to the dreams and everything that comes in with the first act. And so love it so much. And then obviously, as we said before, all of the historical content in the prologue, it's needed. It sets up the show really well. Listen, you're not going to hear a bad thing from me today.
Nor should you. Like, if you love the show, love it hard.
If you like it, just go for it.
Yeah. I totally think it's a good setup. There are not many shows that set up as well as I think this did, for something that's based on historical fact.
Yeah, it is daunting with the first watch, I will admit. If for a first watch and listen, it's like, that's a lot of stuff.
It's really long. Have you seen the concert version?
I've not seen
Titanic?
that one.
No. It's actually, it's great because it does, I agree with you that it can feel long in the show, but the concert version shows why the length of that song really works. And it's with the original cast from Titanic, so I say give it a watch when you can.
Heck yeah. What did you think of it, Andrew?
I thought it was very good at setting up like the whole everything about the Titanic, like historically, very quickly. Because I mean, there's a lot you have to go into if you want to tell the actual history of it, and they get it done faster than I could probably explain it all.
Yeah, that's kind of the hard thing about this show, especially doing a podcast episode about it. There was just so much to try to get down and be able to convey in such a short amount of time. And this musical does it very well. And you can tell from interviews, Maury Yeston loves this show, loves this topic specifically. In that TV special, that UPN special, he's like, he is the most energetic, the most happy to be there. And then Peter Stone, the book writer, is like, I wrote a thing. Don't talk to me. He just seems like a very angry person. Maury Yeston's like, I love all this stuff. And then we have all these characters, and you get to hear them, and you can hear the themes here. And he's like, and I'm like, you know what? I think I've fallen in love with this show because I've fallen in love with you, Maury Yeston.
And he's the one that travels with the show. So like any place that Titanic is being produced, he's going to travel with it. So the day that I went to see it in Arlington, I missed him by a day. Like he had an entire after show sequence. He played the piano, and I was just like, oh, this man, exactly what you said, really loves the show and will travel with it to the end of days. So we hope, hint, hint, more if you're listening, we really want a revival.
Yeah, I want a revival. Honestly, like, all right, we're taking a pause on songs. Who would be your ideal casting for a revival, Ayanna?
I actually want Brian Darcy James to come back in a more like, I mean,
he could play Mr. Andrews.
He could, but like he could even be the captain. Like I just feel like I want him. He would need to come back in some part. In
a meteor role, an older role.
Yeah. A lot more meteor than the beret. Who else? Oh my God, this is really putting me on the spot.
I'm so sorry, but.
I haven't dreamcast this show, which is something I should do. Maybe that'll help it come back quickly.
Yeah.
Just a lot of people to cast.
It's a lot. It's one of the biggest cast
in a
so
show,
if I'm not. And that's why it's like tough to do because it can be very expensive.
I want a Bugsy Malone children's cast of Titanic.
I saw that post that you did. That was hilarious.
Well, they show at the end like all these children dressed up as the real people from Titanic. I am the captain and I died. Then they all sing a song. It was sad when the Titanic went down. It was sad. Children died. Those are real lyrics. Not in that order,
that is terrible.
But I'm like, I want this. I want this Bugsy Malone version of Titanic. Give it to me.
That is terrible. Why put those kids through that? It's painful.
It's on national TV forever too. I will, so I can meme on it. All of them are probably older than me at this point, and you know what? I'm memeing on you, children.
They probably are. That was in '97. Those commercials were pretty funny. I know that you highlighted the commercials, but
those were
really
the
took
most
us back.
90s. Like,
Very.
I'm so sorry to interrupt with the 90s commercials in a Titanic documentary on UPN. But in every commercial break, they would play an ad for like Windows word processing that is in Microsoft Office about how great their PowerPoint is, where a truck is crashing and murders his boss in the background. I am not exaggerating. That is what happens. Ayanna, you watched it too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's shot like a Michael Bay movie.
So weird. But also, like, it shows how much the car commercials haven't changed. They're literally like the same with newer cars. Here we are.
Hey, if you got a formula, don't change it.
Don't.
But back in those days, you shoot in wide shots and make it all loud and incoherent, and then you'll want to buy McDonald's or something.
I wonder what they thought this was going to help with. Like, if, you know, because when I think about marketing now for a show as difficult as Titanic, it has to be inventive because you know the story, you know how it's going to end. And so, like, I don't know if giving the history was like the best thing to do. I mean, it's good for us that we can look back on it, but I don't know if just giving the history of Titanic makes the show sellable.
I'm not sure how you compete with the movie that just came out.
It didn't come out yet. This was like in May, and the movie didn't come out till December. Like, so all they had to go on was the trailer. So they're like, this could be big too. We don't know. That was literally the vibe they got. Like, yeah, this is coming out. It could be good. We don't know.
Mm-hmm. So that was one of the problems. Like, the show came out first, and the show was obviously very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Ticket prices were very expensive. So people said, well, we'll just wait for the movie. The movie is not the same thing. They thought it was, and here we are.
People are stupid is what you're telling me, Ayanna.
Correct.
Let's make a movie of the musical.
Wait, what movies are coming out next year? Let's quick write a musical about it. Doctor Strange, the musical. Let's do this. We got this. It'll just be like Spider-Man, except worse. Let's talk about Beret's song.
From Leicestershire and Nottingham, us lads who works down in the pit knew if you got above the ground, you'd save your soul some way. Get out of the pit and westward I knew I could run and ship out to sea, and there my new life was begun. And the screws are turning at 71. It became my dream to go out to sea. Further out from the mines you couldn't be. But born to the core, there's no place for you elsewhere.
Best song. One of the best songs.
I'm about to say, I feel like for you, every song is going to be tied for the best song.
Yeah, but like top 3 would be Beret, Blame, and Autumn. I think those are my top 3s.
Well, this is Brian Darcy James, at his most Brian Darcy James, in a real tight t-shirt singing about coal. I mean, what else could a little boy want for a Broadway album?
Not at his most Brian Darcy James. That is hilarious.
He really likes coal. What can you say?
He loves coal and being Shrek. Those are the 2 things we know about Brian Darcy James. Eyebrows, that's the 3rd one.
Eyebrows.
Oh my gosh, Shrek. Yeah.
That's his legacy. He will always be Shrek. Sorry.
So terrible. I wish his legacy was Beret song. The Beret from Titanic. Because Shrek is another episode, but it's not one of my favorite shows. But yeah, I really love this song. I mean, it's just, again, showing the nuance of the third class passenger, the worker, and what he had to really go through, like just putting on making this ship run and just knowing that, wow, his fate an hour from now is going to be so different. And so, yeah, sounds beautiful. Literally one of the most beautiful sounding voices, I think, in Broadway history.
One of the most distinctive voices. I was recently in a discussion about like how all Broadway voices have the Carnegie Mellon or University of Michigan sound, where they all just sound like the same person because all the same four people taught them. And then you got voices like Brian Darcy James and all that kind of like, oh, that's what a real voice sounds like. Like, there's no way a Carol Channing could have hit Broadway nowadays.
Oof.
Yeah, she can't hit a high A or whatever. Andrew, what'd you think of this song?
I thought it was pretty good. I don't know.
He's like,
the first act has some good songs. I don't know. I feel like I remember a lot of the prologue very well, and then I remember a lot of the second act very well, and then there's some other like okay songs between.
All right, let's talk briefly about Autumn then, and then we'll move on.
Ahead we plow into the darkening night. Can't see the bow, how then to search with only starlight? No moon, no wind, nothing to spy things by no waves, no squares, no line where sea meets sky. Still as darkness, can't see a thing, says I. No reflection, not a shadow, not a glint of light meets the eye.
So this is one of your favorite songs, Anna. And it's
Yes,
also like the
top three.
penultimate song of Act 1.
This one is pretty good.
Yes.
It's actually like something's happening. And sets up, I think it's one of the better Act 1 finale songs. Because it really sets up, I mean, again, we all know how the story's going to end, but like it sets up the entire cast for like, wow, something's going to happen, but we're going to have like this one final run. And so very like slow beat, really chill moving song. So definitely one of my favorites.
I mean, what do you talk about? Apparently Lin-Manuel Miranda created songs like this. I hear that he's the only one that does this. At least that's what Twitter is saying.
Oof. I love Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, I do too, but I just see children on TikTok being like, oh, he's just doing the same thing where everyone's singing right before a big event, like as the end of Act 1, just like Hamilton nonstop. I'm like, Broadway's done that for years. It's not a Lin-Manuel Miranda
this
thing.
is not
Hamilton was the
just-
first one to do that, actually.
But In the Heights came
No.
first, which they're also citing as like, oh, Lin just does the same thing.
Well, In the Heights actually came later. They released that one last year. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, Autumn is a great song. Great Act 1 finale. Very, very effective. Speaking of very effective, and this is the song that's like, oh, my be still my beating heart. It's still like just a cute song before the big shit happens between this old couple that are like, yeah, we're gonna die together. Let's drink champagne.
Still, the way I love you still lives in my heart.
After all of the years we've been together,
Holding our own still, the way you move me still feels as it did when you first became mine. Whisper the words, I will. I love you then, and I love you still.
Still is beautiful. God, I feel for the old couple. But they were just like, oh, we're so in love and we're just gonna die together, and that's that. That's the song in a 30-second.
It's a pretty good song, though.
It's a pretty good song.
It's a hilarious song. It's a very, very funny song. It's
A laugh riot.
Laugh a
yes.
minute. I, in a more serious note, it is nice to see an older couple, older actors having a place in this show, which is so rare in Broadway in general.
Oh, absolutely. An older couple in love. I can't think of. I'm almost sure there's another show. I mean, another show
Cabaret?
that has. Yeah. Oh, I should be able to know this, and I can't think of it. So maybe you're right.
Yeah, I'm about to say Cabaret and maybe Gypsy. Forgive the slur name.
Gypsy, maybe Gypsy. Yeah, that's terrible. Write more senior citizens in your shows, please.
Nights at Rodanthe the Musical, please. Something's gotta give, the musical.
Something's got to give the musical.
My local retirement home need work.
You know what? I would not be mad at a retirement home, like a musical based on a retirement home. I wouldn't be mad at that. I think it could be
that
very
would be
comedic.
It'd be very fun to watch.
So if
I
you're
mean-
listening, producers, commission that ASAP.
Yeah, put Joel Grey up on stage. What other elderly Broadway actors can we throw up there?
I know. Who would you
Andre
cast?
DeShield. Okay, Joel Grey, Andre DeShield's two-hander in a retirement home.
Listen.
That's it. That's all you need.
That's
I'm
all
actually
you
want to
need.
see this musical really bad now.
They're
I
just
think it could be
retired.
very good.
They're trying to figure out what to do with the time.
It could be like the first act, like going back into like their personal lives and what they've done and been through, and then the second act can be really like, not to sound so like dark, but like the homegoing kind of like what they look for now. It could be really good.
You know what? I pitched. Who should we pitch? Maury Ustin. Write this, Maury Ustin.
You're so good at these things. Write it.
Yeah, you did the better Phantom. Let's do it. You got this.
You did the better Phantom.
They can write old people.
I almost think he would make it dark and not comedic, which is not.
I mean, I think it would be a nice sentimentality mixed with darkness. Like, old age comes with darkness, but you got Joel Grey. You got to add a tap number.
It's That's hilarious. Do you not like The Blame? I think that's another. There's actually
There's so much
I
good
don't-
songs in the second act.
yeah, I know. You love the second act.
The second act is
the-
so
I like
good.
it when the ship sinks.
Oh, but that's controversial because you know the first couple of previews the ship actually didn't sink in the show.
Oh no, it didn't sink.
It didn't sink. And it's pretty wild that the show must go on. What are you gonna do if your ship doesn't sink on the set? Keep going.
You go into a hold, and then you're like, "Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, have some more wine," and then you prattle around with the fucking set
Some
for
more
2
wine.
hours.
We are torpedoing it now. We're making sure it sinks.
It's hilarious. But in Virginia, Signature Theater did it in the round, so it made everyone in the audience feel like part of the ship, which was really cool.
So which part of you sank? Which part of the audience died, Ayanna?
The whole thing sinks.
Oh,
Jess.
a good thing about that production, they gave you a card, so everybody was somebody on the ship. So
Oh.
the card was like the ticket that said you're either first class passenger, second class. I was actually in second class and survived.
Hell
So to your answer,
You survived.
I
That's
survived.
actually a really
but I'm
brilliant
not
idea.
sure about the entire audience.
Actually is the last survivor of the Titanic musical.
We did. We literally we set that up. I didn't even know that going in.
Love that.
But no, that song is wonderful. But would you consider Mr. Andrews' Vision, the penultimate song, the 11 o'clock number? Would you, if you'd say?
The ship will start to plunge beneath the surface, the water lapping at our feet. Down sinks the bow, up flies the stern to the sky. The panicked people in retreat. 1,000 strong, they'll climb up toward the aft deck. They'll cling there desperately like bees to a hive. There they'll hold fast, doomed to the last, lost and abandoned and all
I'm a fan of this musical, but I don't know if I'm a fan of how like it necessarily ends. I mean, we know.
Did you want the Titanic to not sink?
They should have made it not sing.
They should have just
bold
make
choice.
It was too sad.
make it
It sinks and then they pull it back up and they're like, and then everyone lived happily ever after.
exactly. Make it extremely unpredictable. Like,
No, it actually would have been a brilliant move to have like the Carpathia come like and 2 hours early and like everyone's saved.
Exactly.
Yay!
And you can just have a do what James Cameron did, have a mix of historical fact and then some like fluff.
I'm saying go full Last Temptation of Christ, like literally just it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen at all. Love that. In
I
another
like
world.
the ending a lot. I think Mr. Andrews' Vision's a good song, and I think
Oh yeah, it's a good song.
whatever
It's
the name
just-
of the finale is also a good
It's
song.
called
but I can't- I
Finale,
don't-
like most musical theater
liter-
in
songs.
actually-
every age, yeah, it's literally in every age reprise.
I think it was very good.
My husband died. All of our
Chills.
husbands died, except for Bruce Ismay.
Except for Ismay, who magically got
Ended up on a
ship.
boat somehow.
He swam there. Come on.
He paid somebody. That's terrible. He's the one who told him to go faster.
Yeah,
Isn't that?
Well,
that's
isn't
terrible.
he was like one of the owners of the line?
yeah,
right?
he
So
owned
could-
the cruise line or whatever.
He
it's called.
probably just got on the first lifeboat and just got out of there.
No, he told his lawyer said he was helping women onto the boat. The boat was going down. They were on the starboard side, and they were like, "Come on onto the boat." And he was like, "All right, no one else is here."
If you insist.
That was
I tripped and fell onto it.
that was
and I
literally
couldn't
the
get
description
off.
his lawyer said happened.
That is crazy.
Bruce
Did
Ismay.
you
Always
after seeing Titanic, did you go down a rabbit hole of like what other ships have sank? Because I did that like the first time. It was just like Titanic can't be the only ship to sink.
If you look up all the Titanic stuff, like every ship involved has sunk because of World War One. Like the Germans just blew all these ships up. So they all ended up sinking. Like you look up the Californian, it got sunk by the Germans. You look up the Carpathia, it got sunk by the Germans.
What about the Costa Concordia, which sank because the captain was fucking around with his mistress and then it fell onto the side? They're not really. Have you never heard about this?
No.
Okay, so the Costa Concordia. This is recent, like 2016, around there. So he's in Italy. They're about to go back off onto their cruise because it's like a Carnival cruise line. He hits some rocks because he wasn't at the deck when he was supposed to be because he was having sex with his mistress. He comes down.
Nice.
The rocks have like, imagine this is the boat. It's cut a hole, so this boat's just like sinking in the shallows on
think I
its
remember this.
side. So, and then the captain's the first one off the boat, and the
Oh my God, this is scandalous.
the Coast Guard are like, "You get your ass back on that boat. There are people still there. You're the last one off." He's like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." Then he like.
He's like, I'm already off the boat. You want me to go back on it?
And then he never goes back on the boat. He sits on like a ledge of a cliff for 5 hours considering suicide, and now he's in
Oh,
prison for
no.
20 years. So
That's
8 people
I'm Googling
died.
That tonight.
Only 8
Thank
people
you.
died, thankfully, but because they were trapped in elevators or whatnot. Because messed up. Like that is the one thing worse than the Titanic, and it's just on like the island's like half a mile away. They can see each other, so you can see this boat, and it just sat there for 3 years until they just tore it apart and sold it for scrap metal.
Oh, I'm totally Googling this tonight.
There are so many videos on it. It is the most whack shipwreck I have ever heard of, and I've heard of
no.
Titanic once.
It's like literally, he basically crashed into the island that he was leaving.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's-
how do you even do that?
You had one job, keep the boat afloat.
You had one job, and that's fairly recent. That's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah. So
Don't go. I'm not going on any boats.
I'm not going on a cruise line. You couldn't pay me to go on a cruise line.
Oh my goodness.
Did you hear
Little
about
floating
COVID-19
island.
and how it kind of
What's this?
came to New York City?
Oh, so that actually made it, unlike the RMS Titanic.
Exactly.
It would have been better if it sunk halfway through, because then the COVID wouldn't have made it.
The COVID one.
Oh yeah, well, some of it would have been on a door, and then it would have gotten picked up on a lifeboat. And then...
A tour. Oh my God.
On that note, what's everyone's overall thoughts on Titanic the Musical and our cheese rating? Ayanna, are you aware of our cheese ratings?
I am, but please remind me.
Basically, it's just any justification you can make to call it a cheese, that's your rating. As long as you can convince yourself, you can convince the rest of us. Andrew, you're up first, though.
Sure. I think it's pretty good. I hadn't really heard anything about this until we were going to do the episode on it, but some really strong music and some good emotional beats as well. I think it's just good, and it's historically accurate, which you can't say for all Titanic stuff. I don't know. I'd at least give it a listen, or yo-ho, you can go watch it. Check it out, and hopefully there is a revival. As far as a cheese rating, I'm gonna give it the 340-year-old cheese discovered at a shipwreck site, and man does it stink. From this is an article from 2016. I guess it's very stinky cheese from a old shipwreck. Stinky being good in this case, because stinky cheese tastes better. So,
Good justification.
That's my
good one.
That's my cheese rating.
You know what? 10
I
out of
love
10
that.
cheese rating. All right, Ayanna, what's yours?
Oh, well, I absolutely love this show. I love the music, the score, the lyrics, the people who originated the roles. I love Moriarty and what he did. I love Peter Stone and what he wrote. Listen, it's 100% for me. Give this show a watch if you can hook up with Jess and Andrew and find the link for it, or be lucky enough to hope and pray that we get a revival soon enough.
Then bring your camera to go see that, and then
Don't bring your camera. Actually, let someone else do that.
Still trying to figure out how people create bootlegs. But anyway, my cheese rating would be, let's go with my favorite cheese, smoked Gouda.
because it's really Gouda.
It's really Gouda.
Don't do the pun. No, you don't. You don't.
It's really Gouda.
Oh, you didn't have to do the pun.
love
Jess forced you
that.
to.
I don't know, that was wonderful. But I love the Titanic
Classic.
musical. I really, really liked it. I will say, it's a kind of grew on me, like, a little bit more. Like, the first listen to, I was like, all right, I like it. The score is obviously great. Don't, Ben Brantley style. I don't know if I felt things yet. Watched it a few more times. Really felt things. Really hit for me. It really, really works. And the visuals are just top notch. Yo-ho.
We didn't talk about the visuals enough. The
We
leaning
really
ship
did.
and everything. It was really great.
It was fantastic.
It really is a set design. Kudos to whoever
I
did
love the
set
part where
design.
there's like chairs like sliding down. And,
Yes.
like, that's like.
Or even like during Mr. Andrews' vision where he's like the room slowly tilting and he's just trying to pull himself up. That's so cool.
Yep.
So cool. But you guys, there's only one cheese rating I can give this. Really, this is so crazy and I need to share it with you guys. So they have Ismay Dorset Brie cheese, but it has a literal ship on it. So I'm curious if this is connected
Wow.
to Mr. Bruce Ismay, the coward that hopped onto a lifeboat while women and children drowned in third class.
It looks like it must be because that's the Titanic.
Yeah,
That is totally the Titanic.
they named it after Bruce Ismay.
This is interesting.
It is made
That's
by
very
the
funny.
Book and Bucket Cheese Company, who had to make artisan cheese in the heart of Dorset County from locally produced milk. All their milk is sourced from small... You're not going to explain to me the reason why you named it, though?
It's
When you-
definitely the Titanic, though. You can see it's the ship is the Titanic, and there's a white star on it,
Yep.
like the white star line.
This is incredible.
So that is the only cheese rating I could have given it.
Brie.
Ayanna, you were a wonderful guest. Anytime you want to come
Thank
back,
you.
you have an open seat
you guys
waiting
are
for you.
awesome. Love this podcast.
Thank you. Promote your wonderful stuff out for the world to see.
Oh, what do I promote? I guess What's Up Broadway. You can
Have a
listen to it.
podcast, you do?
We do have a podcast. Second season started this week. We recorded, so it should be out later this week. And we do once a week, everything going on Broadway, and sometimes we give a little bit of a hot tip if we get it and if we can confirm it. We do not share hot tips unless they are confirmable.
Hey,
heard it here
Ayanna, can you share a hot tip here on our show? Any cheesy hot tips you got?
Can I share a hot tip? There is an off-Broadway musical that a lot of people loved, that made some buzz today, that's actually going to come to Broadway. That's all I can say.
So a Strange Loop coming to Broadway.
No.
Oh, so
well, we know Strange Loop is coming to Broadway. This is a show no one knows is coming to Broadway, which
so
is
a
funny.
show that made a splash. So
It
Tick
made
Tick
a
Boom
pretty
is coming to Broadway.
Listen, I would love a Tick Tick Boom revival. I wouldn't be mad at that, but that's not the show.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop guessing before I get Ayanna in trouble. Listen to What's Up Broadway, and also if you're not following Ayanna on Twitter, are you calling yourself a theater fan? The fuck?
Oof.
It's the best Twitter in the Broadway world. It like popped up one day, and my life has been better for it.
Oh, really? Listen, some people hate my Twitter feed.
Well,
Listen,
fuck them.
thank you. Fuck them. Yeah, you can follow me at Ayanna Prescod on Twitter. All I do is talk about theater. So if you don't want to hear me like ramble about theater, then I'm not the person you want to follow, because that's all I talk about.
And if they're following me, they probably already are used to it.
Exactly. So there you are. And then What's Up Broadway can be found on any podcast platform.
Yeah. All right, you guys, that was Titanic the Musical. And you know what? We made it through and it didn't sink. We did it.
We did it.
But you know
No
who,
icebergs here.
you know who definitely didn't get hit by an iceberg though? Our
Celine
wonderful
Dion.
patrons. Thank you guys for listening. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher at Musicals with Cheese. We're on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals, Patreon Musicals with Cheese, Instagram Musicals with Cheese, YouTube page Musicals with Cheese. We have a patron-only podcast called Patreon with Cheese. Go check that out. We're currently finishing up Encore, and I think we're going to move on to Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, so that's going to be fun. Email us at musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Our title card is created by the amazing Jolene Casco over on Instagram at Jolene Casco. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. Thank you for keeping up with that, because God knows I wasn't going to do it. This show is produced by the wonderful, the incredible, the sadly absent Brianna Jones. We miss you. Please feel better. Our theme songs were created by Robin Nash of IOU Music UK. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform and for not pirating the high seas and kicking us off for that. Because, man. All right, my wonderful, wonderful people. Do you have anything else left to say?
No. Go
don't
watch
sink.
the Titanic. Don't
Yeah.
sink. Don't let 2022 sink.
Not again.
We'll see. Well, I mean, today, this year is the 110th anniversary of the Titanic. Yeah,
That
110.
might be right.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
So make it a good 110 years, guys. Think about it.
What a year to
110
listen to this show.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
All right. We'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese.
Ba-dum-dum.
What's the theme? Ba-da-da-da, boy, 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 boy. Wait, wrong show.